شمشين للرمو بثرك دموعن لي قادش 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 مريم مرم دخرو كل قادش القدوش يتلث الحد قادشو
Brother,
Tamasha,
always happy to have you on, bro. Your
good to be here. Good to be here for sure. Late night session, first late night one.
Yeah.
I see we're joined by David Gilgamesh. Nothing beats some fellow Assyrian schismatics. Sorry for the little late start, guys. Today we're going to be doing a rehash of a live stream we've already done. There's been some more information I've come upon, more research. I'm always looking to be a student, always looking to know more, as we all should be. And I've come into more information, and I think we can do this more in depth this time. So I approached Shamasha with, let's see if I can get a second round at this. After we do this next, there will be a second part to this because this is only going to 1940. After this, we'll take down Shamasha. You'll take down the old ones because I think this is like a more refreshed version. There's no need to go back.
Absolutely.
So, all right, this is live.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I need to figure out how to share. I think this will share it. Okay. Can everyone see? Can you see the screen, Shamash?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is my face still on the screen?
Yes, it's on like the bottom.
Okay. So, history of the Church of the East, 1780 to 1940. When I'm using the term Church of the East, I'm meaning the Church of the East in its Nestorian. By Nestorian, I'm not meaning heretical. I'm meaning traditionalist, and its uniate branches. So I will be covering the history of both, as they were both very, very, very intertwined. So to do this task, I think it's important to look at maps, to look at everything in this case when we're discussing this. So the first thing, this is an interesting photo just to show you. This is the young patriarch, Mar Ishai Shimon, in the middle. As you can see, he's a young boy. He cannot be older than 13 or 14 at this point. He's in the middle. Do you see him, Shamash?
Yes.
Okay, next to him is his uncle, Mar Yosef Khananishu, Bishop of Shemizdin, Metropolitan of Shemizdin, actually. And this is the Mar Ishai Shimon family. On the top left, you have David Shimon. That's his father. He was a general. But anyways, we'll move on. So the first thing is to offer some background information. The Church of the East is fractured and divided when we get into 1780 into 4 different people claiming to be patriarchs. Now, think about how crazy that is, Shamas. 4 claimants to the patriarchate in 1780. I've marked them each. Okay, those that are reddish, dark red and light red, are both Nestorian. The shades of blue are both uniates. So let's go over the characters that we have here and who is currently occupying these 4 spots.
Here you said which ones are the uniates?
The 2 bluish ones.
Okay. So for viewers, if you don't know what a uniate is, it's a branch that is in communion with Rome. So
yes,
where it says Mosul and where it says Diyarbakir, these were in communion with Rome at this time. And the 2 reddish ones in Hakkari and what is that, Al-Qush?
That's in Al-Qush, correct. Good spotting, Shamas.
They are not in communion with Rome. And all 4 are claiming to be the patriarch of the Church of the East.
And let's quickly go over how they got into this. It can be a long story. There is, as you have spoken to me and my comrade Dylan about, They can be quite complicated about how they got to these positions, so I'm not going to explain that. That's, again, as you know, they could make a movie out of that.
That's
but
gonna be, we'll do a show on that. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, but it would be wrong for me to do it without my other half.
Yes, we'll do it.
So as you can see here in Hakkari, this one that is in the red, can you guys see my mouse? Is my mouse displaying or no?
Yes.
Okay, so right here in the red, this is Kochanos. This is occupied by what we call the Shimun line. The Shimun line, long story short, has its origins in Alkosh, but is located here. They are firmly traditionalists, but they have flirted with Catholicism at times in the past, and it's possible the successor or their predecessors may have been Catholic. That's a separate discussion. Over here in Alkosh, just south of Duhok, this is the Ilia line or the senior Ilia line. You could call the Shimun the junior Ilia line, perhaps. That's a more complicated discussion. Here, you have the patriarch Elia Ishoyab. I believe his name off the top of my head is Leo Ishoyab. I'll check in the next upcoming slides. Here in the south, in Mosul, his first cousin, Yohanan Hormuz, who felt he should have been patriarch instead of his cousin, he goes to Mosul along with his supporters and makes a sincere declaration of faith to the Catholic Church in order to gain the support of the Dominican missionaries in Mosul. The Dominican missionaries have been a strong presence in Mosul since the 1750s and 1760s. He will need their power to be able to take over his cousin's domains. Over here in Diyarbakir, you have the Yosef line or the Josephite line. This is named aptly after Patriarch Joseph I. This is the bishop of, or he was previously Bishop Joseph I. Now, at this point in 1780, I think we're at Joseph IV. Joseph I in the 1680s, 1690s, possibly early 1700s, he takes over the mantle of being the only uniate branch after the junior Ilia line, which we will call the Shimun line. After they may have left being uniate, it's a whole complicated story in itself. They become the only uniate branch, and they are directly in communication with the Dominicans in Mosul, who, let's keep in mind, the Dominicans in Mosul are unwilling to recognize Yohanan Hormuz as patriarch, and the Pope is unwilling to recognize Yohanan Hormuz as patriarch. But Yohanan Hormuz is treating himself as patriarch. Is that clear?
Yeah. So Mosul is no longer one of the uniate branches.
When?
At this time, you're saying
they are uniate. Yohanan Hormuz, the first cousin of the one in Alkosh, he's the first cousin of the legitimate Ilia patriarch in Alkosh. Yeah. He becomes a uniate, but he is not recognized as patriarch. He's claiming himself as patriarch.
So he's in communion with Rome, but not patriarch. He's not recognized.
So Rome would call him Archbishop of Mosul. Is what Rome is titling him. Okay. He himself is calling himself patriarch.
Got it.
And he has support of some people.
Okay.
We'll go on to the next slide. So, well, actually, let's go back to this really quick before I move into that. So, with the help of the Dominican missionaries, Yohanan Hormuz is able to slowly wane down the possessions of his first cousin. Yohanan Hormuz is very energetic in terms of getting people to convert. He actually makes his first missionary efforts in Erbil, in the Erbil area, converting the villages there. So you see villages like Shaklawa, Khoisanjak, and Ankawa come very early into the fold of Yohanan Hormuz's patriarchate. Now, while this is being said, Yohanan Hormuz, as technically being an archbishop, should be taking orders from Diyarbakir. He refuses in every step of the way. The name of the patriarch in Diyarbakir, his name is Yosef the Fourth. I believe they call him Yosef Lazar Hindi, as his family may have came from India at some point. Fascinating, right? Yeah. So we'll move on to this. So the uniate, Rome versus Alqosh. So the problem is that you get, even when his first cousin dies and Yohanan Hurmus is able to take the seat of Alqosh in 1808, he is not actually still recognized as patriarch. He works very, very hard to try and be recognized as patriarch. He tries very hard to be Rome's favorite, but there are numerous forces working against him. Okay. First off, let's talk about this. Within the Chaldean church itself, so when Yohanan Hurmus now becomes, when he is now the most powerful man in that area of Mosul and Alqosh and Ahmadiyya, there is a group of monastics led by Gabriel Danbo and his disciple Yuhanna Guerra. So Gabriel Danbo, to give you a little bit of a how to say this about Gabriel Danbo. Gabriel Danbo was born in Mardin, so he's actually primarily an Arabic speaker. But he is very early put into contact, not with Dominicans, but with Franciscan monks. And because of that, he is actually very enthralled with this, and he believes it is his duty to revive monasticism in the Church of the East. So he travels to Rome. He receives orders from the Pope, blessing from the Pope to do this, and he begins rallying people to the monastic cause. He starts this by going to Rabban Hurmus in Alqosh and repopulating the monastery in the early 1800s. This very, 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 from the very beginning, comes into contact with Yohanan Hurmus. Yohanan Hurmus seeks to have Rabban Hurmus monastery be the seat of his patriarchate. Well, Danbo wants to have this be a monastery and just a monastery. So they start getting into trouble with each other. During this time, you can see several issues with the figures. Yohanan Guerra is Danbo's deputy. So whenever Danbo is gone, Guerra takes over, and both are united in their opposition of Yohanan Hurmus. They actually are able to get Hurmus arrested several times by the Ottoman government.
Okay.
Yes. But none of them are for too long. Actually, there's almost, I believe, a 7-year span in which Yohanan Hurmus is suspended because he is not following the orders of the patriarch Josip Augustine Lazar Hindi, the fourth.
Not to go on a tangent, but it reminded me of, there was some situation. I'm sure you and Dylan will come on eventually to do the rival Syriac Orthodox Patriarchate thing one day. But
absolutely,
yeah. But there was a situation where either the Syriac Orthodox or Syriac Catholic patriarchs got the other one arrested, and then not only that, but had him assassinated in jail via poison.
Yeah. So I believe in Gabriel Danbo's mind, he would have preferred that Yohanan Hurmus was assassinated, but that was not done.
Yeah.
His even when he was suspended, again he's restored to his post eventually in 1818. So, but again, you have to remember, he's still not recognized as patriarch. One of the things is that Yohanan Hurmus is also opposed by several arch-traditionalists within his synod, such as Josip Audu. That's who is pictured on the right. Josip Audu was the bishop of Ahmadi, and he actually, because of his conflict with Yohanan Hurmus, flees to Mardin to be in the comfort of the other patriarch, of the true recognized patriarch by the uniates, and he allies himself with him. So one of the things that Yohanan Hurmus sought to do was to secure his own succession. It was in the practice of his family to pass it on from uncle to nephew, as had been done before him. He sought to do the same thing. He took his nephew, his name was Elias Sefaro. Okay, I labeled him Elia of Urmia. He actually knew that Rome might not support this, since he had good relations with the Dominican monks, and he knew that as soon as they found out about it, they would tell Rome, and Rome would veto such a thing, or the Ministry of Propaganda in Rome would veto it. So Elia, his nephew, is sent to be he consecrates him a priest, sends him to the line in Kochanos, so in Hakkari, the non-uniate line, sends him to be consecrated a bishop there by them, so that this figure, perhaps Elias Sefaro, could be a figure to unite the two branches in theory, as he would be a recognized bishop in both and the successor of one.
How did that work out?
Really bad. Rome did not like it at all. Rome actually voids his appointment immediately and says, no, we don't recognize this person.
What was the basis that Rome said that they were? Like, what was the reason that Rome gives?
They do not believe in the succession from uncle to nephew.
Got it.
That is considered not legitimate.
Yeah.
So Elias Sefaro will come back to him, but for a time he decides to stick with the Nestorian branch. So when I'm saying Nestorian for the audience, I'm not meaning heretical Nestorian. I'm just going to mean it as traditional. It's just easier that way.
So at this time, he's independent. Does he have another independent rival who's not a uniate at the same time?
Elias Sefaro?
Yeah.
Not in the region? Because he's just a bishop. He's just made a bishop.
Right. So I'm saying when Rome cuts him off.
Yeah.
Right? It cuts him off on they don't recognize the uncle to the nephew. Clearly he has ambitions of patriarchy, right?
Yes, he does.
Okay. So he's probably, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing he's probably already viewing himself as that.
No, because his uncle is alive, and the Shemun patriarch who just ordained him is also alive.
Got it. Okay.
So he can only act. He feels like he needs to play his cards right in the long term.
He's in communion with who? As a bishop?
With the Nestorians. He is ordained as a Nestorian.
Nestorians. Rome, before Rome cuts him off, is he also in communion with the Nestorians?
Yes. So his uncle sends him as an ordained priest to be ordained a bishop by the Nestorians.
Okay. So then the uniate branch is in communion with the Nestorians at this time.
There's some weird understanding going on between the two. Whether or not they're not in communion, they're obviously rivals, and I'll get to that in another slide. But I don't know why the Shemun line ordains this person, but they ordain him. It's quite complicated. All we know is that he gets ordained, and he's actually made a metropolitan bishop of Urmi in Iran.
Yeah.
And then later, he kind of gets forgotten about when Rome says, we don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah.
He comes back to be a thorn in the side of the future patriarch.
Okay.
So Yohanan Hormuz tries to appoint his successor. It doesn't work out. In 1830, in 1828, the line in Diyar Bakr dies. Okay? Yeah. And Gabriel Dunbo, he's, like I said, the monk, superior general of the monastery, Gabriel Dunbo, big enemy of Yohanan Hormuz. Think of them as feuding.
Yeah.
Gabriel Dunbo actually is able to delay Yohanan Hormuz being ordained patriarch for 2 years until 1830. Wow. That's how much pull he has with Rome. So even though he's the only candidate, Yohanan Hormuz, Dunbo stalls it for 2 years.
Yeah.
So he successfully does that. But Dunbo ends up dying in 1832 when Al-Qush is raided, which takes away one of the big oppositions to Yohanan Hormuz's patriarchate. Now, if you think about this, Yohanan Hormuz has been claiming to be patriarch from 1780 to 1830 and finally gets recognized. 50 years
Yeah,
he waited.
that's
50.
that's crazy.
Insane.
And where is he based again?
Well, he is in Mosul, and he keeps the patriarchate in Mosul.
Okay.
What ends up happening is the Catholic Church is very suspicious of Yohanan Hurmus. Like I said, they've suspended him. They've had him be arrested a couple times. They're very suspicious of him. They like the work he does in terms of being an energetic opponent of the Nestorians, apparently. But they're very suspicious. Yeah. So what they do is they take a bishop named Nicholas Zaya, okay, who was a bishop in Iran for the Catholics. They take him, and he was actually someone educated by the Dominicans. So he is what we might call a student of the Catholics, one of the first generation of students of the Catholics. And they appoint him a patriarchal successor. Rome appoints him that. So now you're not even going to have an election, which is what you would think Rome would support. But instead, they force appoint their own candidate while Yohanan Hurmus is still alive, so that when Yohanan Hurmus dies, Nicholas Zaya is their man in Mosul.
I think this is typical papal behavior pre-Vatican II. I think if you see like how Rome dealt with the heads of the Eastern churches and communion with them, I think you see that as consistent behavior from like the 6th century to what you're saying.
Yeah, certainly. You do see, and we'll even get to that when Nicholas Zaya's successor, as I shared with you earlier, a bit of a encyclical written against him. But it was crazy. It was certainly very, very, very crazy. Nicholas Zaya is, how do I even say this? Nobody likes him. Nobody likes him because they feel like this person has just been forced onto us. Why would you do this? So here our friend Josip Audu comes back to be important in this story again. Josip Audu is Bishop of Amedi, and he is instrumental in converting that region. I'll display where that region is a little later. He's instrumental in the efforts in that region, but he's also an arch traditionalist within the Synod. He believes in independence for the Chaldean Catholic Church while being under Rome. He wants to maximize its independence. He basically wants to be in communion with Rome, have all the benefits of the missionaries and the money they provide, but at the same time, make his own decisions. So Nicholas Zaya, lots of enemies. Yohanan Guerra, the successor of Dunbo, he is also killed on a raid of Rabban Hurmus Monastery in 1842. So he dies just like his spiritual father.
Do you know if outside political pressure, whether it was from other Christian groups in the area or the Muslims or anything like that, if it kind of influenced these Church of the East situations with Rome in any way?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah. So, like, do you think, for example, there's any type of influence from, say, Syriac Orthodox or who else is in the area? I don't know, like the Ottomans or something, to where they're playing in the Church of the East political game with Rome, like.
Yeah, absolutely. The Ottomans are a big factor in this. The Ottoman authorities are certainly being used by Rome. Rome tries to have them play ball constantly in terms of making them recognized as legitimate government entities.
Yeah.
Yohanan Hormis is actually able to get a firman from the governor, recognized as patriarch of the Nestorians, even though he's not. He's a uniate. He's not part of the Nestorian branch.
Yeah.
Which
So
makes things interesting.
they had preferences. Like these outside groups had preferences over who they wanted to push for the Church of the East in a certain direction.
Absolutely. So actually, we can see that when there's disputes, they will often appeal to local governors or local emirs for Kurdish tribes to support them. This actually comes to be at the heart of the conflict with the Nestorian branch in 1843 with the Badr Khan massacres. Actually comes with the political machinations of the Kurds and the Church of the East playing its hand in that. Yeah, so it's certainly the outside factors come in. The Syriac Orthodox are not as involved in this, but interestingly enough, I need to look into this, but there has been a claim more recently that Yohanan Solaka, the first patriarch of the first uniate patriarch, actually attempted to join the Syriac Orthodox Church before joining Rome.
Yes, I read that somewhere too.
Yeah, I'll have to look into the scholarship behind it.
I think the text I read it in, I can't remember where exactly, but I think the reason it gives for kind of the pushback from the where they couldn't come to an agreement, and so he had to go to Rome, is because the Syriac Orthodox had more things that they insisted on than Rome.
I'm sure. And that's probably at the what got to Solaka to go to Rome. Right. Obviously, quite a farther distance.
Right. Imagine if that would have happened, though, what the world we would live in today.
It would be interesting. I mean, that would definitely be very, very, very interesting.
A lot of debates wouldn't exist. Yeah.
One of the things was Nicholas Zaya. Nicholas Zaya, as I mentioned, very, very disliked by the traditionalists. He actually in 1843, so he takes over the patriarchate in 1838. In 1843, 5 years into his time, he actually proposes a ecclesiastical change to the calendar, which nobody would support or like in terms of the traditionalists. And many of the traditionalists started being more vocal in their in opposing him. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but to cover what happens in the aftermath, specifically with the uniates, Josip Audu gets elected upon the death of Nicholas I Zaya. He is representing the traditionalist and the vocal opponent of Nicholas Zaya. He actually at first has a very good relationship with the Dominicans in Mosul and with the overseas Catholic societies that help fund these missions, such as from France and these other areas. So he's actually able to build a seminary. They call it the Syro-Chaldean Seminary of St. John. It's a joint Syriac Catholic, Chaldean Catholic seminary in the city of Mosul. They are also able to. This is in, I believe, in the 1840s.
Okay.
Is when they begin construction of it, and I think it finishes in the 1850s or 60s.
Okay.
They're able to build or begin constructing several other seminaries and schools, but not all of these are finished until Yohanan Hormis dies. That's a whole complicated financial thing, is what the records seem to indicate. Josip has big problems with Latinization in the church. He, affirms that Nestorius should be respected in the church, not just thrown away. He is insistent on these things, actually. And he's also insistent on being able to appoint his own bishops, which seemingly wasn't a problem before, but all of a sudden becomes an issue for Rome. Especially when, as you know, in India, the Portuguese Roman Catholics were very discriminatory against the East Syriac Rite that existed, along with the West Syriac Rite that existed. So there's a major call from Indian uniates that they want to be united with their mother church. So because of that, Yohanan Hormis, his two patriarchs before, had sent people to the Syro-Malabars to help maintain their tradition. Yosep Audu decides to attempt to continue this by appointing a bishop for them. Rome vetoes this appointment. Rome also vetoes several of his other appointments, and they basically continue to antagonize each other. It gets so bad that the Pope writes an encyclical basically condemning Josep Audu. I sent it to you, and chastising him for his disobedience, and saying that Nestorianism will burn down the whole garden that is Rome. So Josep Audu, very, very, very sad case in this. But he...
And what year is that document?
This is in the 1870s.
Okay. So imagine in a century later, it's completely opposite, where Rome is saying we have the same Christology, we have intercommunion together, everything flips.
Yeah, within just 100 years.
Yeah.
In 1877, Josep Audu, after years of fighting against Rome, maybe some people might not see it as fighting. I think it's kind of clear in my eyes that he is attempting to resist certain things. In 1887, the Syro-Malabar Church is officially created to govern itself. Rome specifically points out that only it has the power to govern the Syro-Malabars, and no matter if they appeal to their mother church, it does not matter because Rome is their mother church, not the Chaldean Catholic Patriarchate. As part of this deal that they make with the Roman Catholic Church, Josep Audu, some of his appointments in the local area are allowed. Only some. So it's kind of a slap in the face.
Yeah. Look, it's honestly, this is again a consistent papal policy.
Yes. Actually, interestingly enough, Josep Audu is mentioned by, and his treatment is mentioned by Mar Awa, at the time just a bishop, in his letter of response to Massacres' proposal for unity. And how can there be unity when sincere figures, he calls Josep Audu of blessed memory, of thrice blessed memory, how can we expect to enter unity with Rome when such a figure was abused, frankly? So the next thing is to look at what's happening with the Protestants in the region, and the Anglicans. I will put the Anglicans separate from the Protestants, since they have a different goal than the Protestants. So the Archbishop of Canterbury, that is the head of the Anglican Church, there are several Anglicans that have gone with the British excavation efforts going on in Mesopotamia, and they are starting to encounter these Nestorians, and they are writing to the Archbishop of Canterbury. The most notable person that is important to discuss is George Percy Badger. He writes a famous work called Nestorians and Their Rituals in 2 volumes in 1852. He actually visits many of the peoples in the area, including what he labels as Jacobites, the Syriac Orthodox Church, and the Yazidis, but most of his work is focused on the Church of the East. He also writes a lot about the events that are going on in his time, including Nicholas Zaya, Josep Audu, and what he's heard of Yohanan Hormis in the time prior to him. George Percy Badger, it might be fair to think of him of the Sebastian Brock of his time.
Wow.
He actually learns significant amount of Syriac and very interested in the rituals and the text of the church. He actually translates several prayers into English. several aspects of the liturgy into English. He is, again, to put it as Dylan put it, the Sebastian Bach of his time. So he is that intelligent or that
Big
interested.
deal.
Yeah. And that's high praise.
Absolutely.
So what the Archbishop of Canterbury's mission is actually not to convert the Church of the East. It's actually just meant, it's very weird. When scholars like J.F. Coakley, Chip Coakley as we'll call him, when Chip Coakley looks at this, he doesn't really understand the point of it. He's like, why is the British Foreign Ministry and the Anglican Church spending so much money on actually just helping these people? They want to build schools, educate clergy, and in general, just learn more about what these people believe. So actually, the Anglicans do play a significant part in understanding the Church of the East is not Nestorian. George Percy Badger is actually very interested in this subject, and the people who take over the mission, which starts in 1884, which is much later, but the official mission, they're very interested in this. They build schools across the region in the mountains. In the photo on the right, we don't have many photos from this time, but you can see Reverend Frederick Brown. He's the man that looks very clearly English by his dress. He is actually the patriarchal tutor in the early 1900s. Next to him on the right might actually be Mar Ishai Shimon, believe it or not, as a young boy. This would have been in like 1911 or 1912, something around that time. On the very top left, actually, we'll get to the Protestants now. So the Protestant missionaries, you have a lot of them actually coming from America more than Europe, and they are arriving in Urmia. They actually begin large-scale printing presses in Urmia, and they actually encourage reform within the Church of the East to start using the spoken language in their text and liturgy, Lishana Swadaya, rather than using Lishana Etika, which would have been used previously. So it starts to catch on, but they are very much in the business of converting. They want to bring people into the Protestant church. They are there to proselytize, and as I wrote, the Church of the East is in contact now with the British Foreign Ministry. Did Rassam ever refer to himself as Assyrian? I can't find specific evidence. Hormis Rassam absolutely did in several British publications. That's another conversation. I'm not discussing Hormis Rassam in this case. That would be an identity discussion. He's not really important to the religious understanding of what's going on in the church. So the patriarchs of the Church of the East, people are wondering why the Anglican Church. This is clearly not a apostolic church in the same way that the Catholics or the Jacobites or the Eastern Orthodox. Why are they welcoming these people? They welcome the Archbishop of Canterbury's mission as a counterbalance between the Presbyterians and the ongoing conflict they are having with the Catholics over certain areas. If they are able to get support, they will take it in any way they can. And to them, this seems easy. On the left, or at the top left corner, you see a funeral. This is a funeral for, I believe, a bishop in Urmia. This is attended by Church of the East and Protestant missionaries alike. So I thought it was interesting to attach. At the bottom is W.A. Vic.
This was all happening while the Ottoman Empire was still there. So
in Urmi, it would have been the Qajars.
The Persians. So then in these places, are there economic capitulations by the Persians and the Ottomans to allow foreign missionary groups to be coming, like the Russians, the Latins, the Protestants, to try to evangelize the native inhabitants?
Yeah, certainly that the British have certain many economic concessions in the Ottoman Empire post the Crimean War. The Ottoman Empire is in significant debt. and the British are able to secure concessions like protections for their missionaries or schools or the like. The French have had significant concessions since the late 1500s, as per negotiations with the Ottoman Sultan. There's a very good book written on this called Catholics and Sultans, that discusses the creation of uniate branches and how the French missionaries played a big part in this.
Okay.
So yeah, there is economic concessions for sure that
I'm
go
guessing
on.
then the Persians probably had something with the Russians too.
We'll actually get to the Russians a little later.
Okay.
They don't actually come into the picture until towards the end of the 19th century. But the Persians are certainly in a state of chaos. The Qajar state is rotting at its core, even more than the Ottoman Empire is at this point. So it's quite disorganized, and you really just need to negotiate with tribal leaders in order to enter in these areas.
Got it.
Okay, so important. Lead up to the First World War. How do we understand what's happening? So in 1843 and 1846, there is large-scale massacres in the Hakkari region. This comes due to the patriarch Mar Shimon Oraham, or as he's labeled, Mar Shimon the 17th Oraham. He becomes patriarch in the 1820s, and he rules until the 1860s. He is very much a politician. He attempts to strengthen the Church of the East, unify it, and to play to whatever forces he can to keep it strong. One of the things he does is he tries to intermingle in Kurdish politics, in interwarring Kurdish tribal politics. He sides with what ends up being the losing side for a battle over an emirate in Hakkari. He picks the losing side. So the winning side extracts revenge by deciding to destroy the entire Assyrian mountain tribes.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is actually when you get significant amount of refugees from the mountains going to populate villages in the south. Plenty of the families of Al-Qosh originally come from the mountains during this time. In Talkepe, you get families from Ashitha and from other areas, all because they are coming down. Awiyas, we will talk about Surma. We're not even close to when she's alive yet. So
is that really her name?
Surma Khanum. She's a woman.
Her name is Surma?
Surma, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, similar to another word.
Yeah.
So Shimon Oraham is actually forced to flee and he flees to Mosul, and he tries to appeal to the foreign powers to help him in Mosul. At this point, it's Nicholas Zaya who's in charge of the Catholic Church, and many of the traditionalists actually appeal, and along with some of the Dominican missionaries, appeal to Shimon Oraham to become the patriarch of a unified Church of the East if he becomes Catholic. Man. So he has an opportunity to unify the branches.
It's the modern East deal. Yeah.
And he says no.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
I'm assuming he preferred his independence at the end of the day and didn't feel it was worth the effort.
Got it.
So on the other side, after this, Shimon Oraham ends up returning to Hakkari, to Kochanos, after the Ottomans intervene and destroy the Kurds. The British successfully lobby the Ottomans to intervene. Okay. The Ottoman government, intervenes. So the next Chaldean patriarch after Yosef Audu is Mar Elia, the 14th Abdulyonin. He is actually a student of Mosul, a product of Mosul, and he is very much trying to fix the possible damaged relationship with Rome. He finishes the schools that were not built during Yosef Audu's time. He reopens the seminary, which was closed for a few years towards the end of Yosef Audu's time. And he works quite a bit towards that, but his time is cut short, his life is cut short, and he is succeeded by Mar Odisho, the fifth Khayyat. I believe he's another Maslawi. He is also an ally of Rome, but he actually, during his time as bishop in 1870, Bishop of Ahmadiyya, he uses the term Assyro-Chaldean for the first time in a published work. He uses it when he sends his envoy to Rome. You can see it. It's kind of in there. It's in that picture. Let me show you right here. You can see it says by the author Giwargis Abdisho Khayyat. It says Giorgio Abdisho Khayyat, Assyro-Chaldean, Archbishop of Ahmadiyya.
So, just one step back on the British lobbying the Ottomans to intervene on behalf of the Assyrians. What is the motivations of the parties, and the British motivation and the Ottoman?
Yeah, so the British motivation, that's actually both have good motivation for this. The British motivation is they are hoping to make an ally of this Shimon Oraham figure, who has so far played quite nice with them in the 1840s and 1850s. And Badger is a British citizen living around this time in that area. So they hope to increase their influence in the East. The French have traditionally been the protectors of Christians in the East, and the British obviously would like to have a counterbalance to that.
Okay.
As for the Ottomans, if you are trying to centralize your state as they are in the 1840s and 50s, having a large, powerful Kurdish emirate in the middle of your state doesn't help.
Yeah.
So by crushing them, they're able to actually centralize the state a little further.
Got it.
So it's a benefit to both.
Okay, and then when they intervened, what did that look like? They sent the army and what?
They sent the army.
And there were actual battles between them and the Kurds?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And Badr Khan was exiled from the Ottoman Empire.
Do you know where he went?
I want to say Cyprus, or but I'm not 100% sure.
Surprised he didn't go to Iran.
Yeah, the typical for exiled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So before the mountainous Nestorians moved into northern Iraq, there was already a large Chaldean population there. By that, do you mean uniate branch? Yes, there was uniates. There was certainly uniates in the Nineveh Plains. We'll get to some population statistics later. But as I was showing Shamasha Daniel much earlier in the day, it was an ongoing battle in some of these areas in terms of converting people. So it's not really until the 1850s that you even see some of these places embrace Catholicism that you might think of as Chaldean areas. So it's quite complicated.
Yeah.
In terms of this, what?
I was going to say, you were saying you got to the point about him using the word Assyro-Chaldean.
Yes. So he used Assyro-Chaldean for the first time in publication, which is quite interesting. It's not being really pushed by anyone. The French, as some people claim that Assyro-Chaldean was pushed by the French. The French are not pushing him to use this term. There's no Assyro-Chaldean term that exists widely. It seems like Khayyat did this under his own volition, which is interesting.
Yeah.
As you can see, there's a couple other pictures. We'll get to discussing these specifically, but you have the next patriarch following Shimon Oraham is Mar Shimon the 18th Ruwil. He also reigns for 43 years, quite a long time. Mar Shimon Ruwil is having to deal with a three-front attack on his church. He has Protestants in Urmia, he has the Catholics attempting to take over his realm, and he has the Russians who have now entered the picture towards the later end of his reign. They begin with a mission in Urmia. It's actually quite interesting. The Catholics make one final push to unify the churches before the war. In 1903, they are able to get a member of the patriarchal family, the brother of Mar Shimon Ruwal, actually. His name is Nimrud Shimonaya. They're able to get him to convert to Catholicism. They also, what?
I just said his name, Namrud.
Yeah, Nimrud. Very interesting. I wonder why someone would be named Nimrud.
Yeah.
They're able to convince him to convert to Catholicism.
Yeah.
They're able to convince the bishop of Barwar, Yuala Ishuyab of Barwar. He converts. And here's the interesting part. As the brother of the patriarch, his son is next in line to be the patriarch. He is the next oldest brother. His son, his name is he takes his name after his uncle, or his grand uncle, Oraham. So there's actually a picture of him on the left right here. You can see him, Mar Oraham Chimunaya.
Yeah.
As they write. You can actually see him on the picture in the right, all the way on the end. You can see him sitting there with a cross on. He looks let me point him out right here.
Yeah.
This is Nimrud Chimonaya. So this is actually a meeting of the Chaldean Catholics and those prelates in Hakkari who are seeking to convert. You can actually see the Chaldean patriarch
the pro-uniate part of the Hakkari church.
Correct. This is Mar Emanuel Thomas, Mar Yosef Emanuel Thomas. He's a Chaldean patriarch for, I believe, 46 years or something like that. He is in the middle. Next to him is Nimrud Shimonaya on the right, and his son, Mar Oraham Shimonaya. So, again, this is quite interesting as I've looked into this. What ends up happening with Nimrud Shimonaya is his son is supposed to be ordained the successor of Shimon Ruwal. Shimon Ruwal, this was his successor, his Nator Kursi. What ends up happening is the Protestants and the Russians and the English all plead with him to not ordain Oraham.
Yeah.
They all say, do not ordain Oraham. He is a Catholic. At this time, Oraham is away in Mosul, visiting with the Catholics. What ends up happening from this is that Shimon Ruwal makes a change of heart and picks his other nephew, who ends up becoming Mar Shimon Binyamin. He actually, while he's sick, he's old, he's going to pass any week now, he is able to ordain him a bishop and a metropolitan in successive days.
Yeah.
And I believe I can't remember which British official writes that it was his last dying breath to do this, because it's quite a long ceremony to ordain people at this time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So Nimrud is actually quite upset about this. Obviously, his son was supposed to be patriarch. So this leads to a bit of conflict within the family, obviously. So Nimrud Shimun, he doesn't live in Kochanos. He lives in the village right next to it called Khananis. Khananis was to be the staging ground for Catholic missionary work in Hakkari. And it never comes to full fruition.
Okay.
So Mar Shimon Binyamin is ordained. One of his bishops is a Catholic, and his first cousin is also a Catholic.
But he's not.
He's not. And neither is most of the church. In 1907, Mar Shimon Binyamin...
when you're saying one of his bishops, meaning a bishop in communion with him is also in communion with Rome.
Has now gone to being in communion with Rome.
So does he stay in communion with him at the same time?
He comes back.
Okay.
So we'll get to this figure. His name is Mar Ishoyab of Barwar. When Mar Shimon bin Yamin musters the political strength, he actually ousts Mar Ishoyab of Barwar, and is able to get his nephew, who is 12 years old, named Yalda, ordained, and he becomes Mar Yuala of Barwar. Mar Yuala Yalda of Barwar. So he's able to install an ally in an important diocese. In 1907, there is a break-off faction that had existed in India. I'm not sure what year. They broke off from the Syro-Malabars, seeking to return to their Nestorian roots or their traditionalist roots. Their bishop is on the verge of death, and they write to the Shimun family asking to send them a bishop. So they take a young, energetic archdeacon named Abimelech Timotheos, and they consecrate him as a metropolitan, and they send him to India in 1907. And he becomes the metropolitan of India for what ends up taking the name as the Chaldean Syrian Church. Another interesting figure from this time is Mar Elia Abuna. Mar Elia is, or Elia Abuna, we'll just call him. Elia Abuna is an Al-Kushnaya from the patriarchal family of Johann and Hormis originally, of the Abuna family. Mar Elia was ordained a priest, educated in the seminary of the Chaldean Catholic Church, but he makes a sincere confession. He comes up to Kochanos, converts to the Church of the East, the non-uniate faction, and he becomes, how do I say this? He becomes the metropolitan of Alkosh, but he tries to settle in Alkosh to bring Alkosh back into the Church of the East, but the Ottoman authorities forbid him from settling in Alkosh.
Why?
As to protect the Chaldean Catholic Church, which is recognized as its own independent millet at this time.
So when you're saying he converted, what does that mean? Like, did he just renounce certain things, or what happened?
See, it's even unclear what that means. It just seems that he gets orders as a metropolitan bishop by the Shimun Patriarchate.
Okay.
But since he's not able to establish a diocese in Alkosh, he returns up to Hakkari, and he becomes. This is. Should I entertain this question, Shamasa, or is this a church?
You don't have to give it a lot of time, but just
So in my opinion, the term Chaldean is used because of its association with the word Aramaic in the Western world. So in the Latin Rite, historically, prior to the 1500s, Aramaic was widely associated with the term Chaldean. This is due to Saint Jerome in his works calls the Aramaic language Chaldean, Chaldaic, and this error continues to be used afterwards. So when in Aramaic a Syriac rite comes into communion with the church, the name Chaldean is bestowed upon them, but it was not being used prior to that to refer to something separate than Assyrian. Both things would have been used interchangeably. As you can see by Father Andrew Younan's article that he's written recently on this. You can check it out if you'd like, Awiyas. Mar Elia Abuna is made Bishop of Timar, which is a region in near south of Lake Van. I'll point it out in the next map. He's a bit of an interesting figure that we'll come back to cover, but he writes a lot, and he has several volumes on the patriarchs of the Church of the East that are in Arabic that have yet to be translated into English.
Wow.
And when they get translated, it will be a major important thing to our study. So what I've marked here is a map of important places in this period. So in terms of the Church of the East. So on the red is Kochanos still, as you can see. Blue is where the Uniate faction is in Mosul. That's where their headquarters is. The purple areas are areas of conflict in terms of between the two churches and converting them. So on the right here is you have this area of Accra. This area is not converted fully, possibly as late until the 1870s, but there's large competition between the two in the 1850s. Over here, just northeast of Duhok, you have Ahmadiyya. This is where villages like Aradin, your home village, is located, along with other villages such as Mingesh, Komane, Dere, plenty of them. Up here, you have Barwar, just north of it. Traditionally, these two areas are connected. In the left, you have this the diocese of Sirt. This traditionally encompasses this whole area. Sirt is also an area of contention. We know up until 1913 that there's they write when they're taking statistics of the Chaldean Catholic Church that there are lots of semi-converts, whatever that means. Semi-converts. So it's actually unclear if people even knew what they were converting into when this was happening.
Yeah.
If there was even a formal conversion process at all. On the right, you have yellow to represent the Russian Orthodox missions in the area, and the green to represent the Protestants. This is most of their efforts are concentrated in Urmia. I would like to say that the Russians, likely their efforts are overstated for how many people converted to them, but they certainly did make an effort, and they established a bishop or two in the region.
And did they continue in history, did it end up dying out?
Oh, it dies out. I'll cover to that. I'll get to that after the First World War.
Okay.
But this is sort of mapping out some areas just to give a helpful area of what we're talking about. But again, this area of Ahmadiyya is, even when it becomes Catholic, is still a very Nestorian area. Aradin is often noted for being quite close to its neighbors. Barwar, as I mentioned, its conversion to Catholicism is halted with a new bishop being installed. So, and again, it's very weird. Think about this. Barwar and Ahmadiyya are right next to each other. They're actually traditionally very interconnected historically. So the fact that you have one area that remains Church of the East and the other area that doesn't, this also dispels the myth that the Church of the East that was not Chaldean Catholic was not present in the modern borders of Iraq. You can see that very clearly Barwad falls in those borders, along with several villages in Ahmadiyya in the Sapna Valley continue to be Nestorian in this time, notably the villages of Bebede, known as Betbede, Dere, which is the twin village of Komane, and several others. Okay, so genocide, destruction, and reorganization. This is a major thing in the history of the church, as it is for the Syriac Orthodox. The genocide changes everything. I'm not going to cover too much about what the genocide is. I've talked about it in other videos and its major effect on our people, along with Dylan mapping the villages in Hakkari. But the Ottoman destruction of villages in Hakkari, Botan, Gawar, Mardin, and Diyarbakir and Urmia changes so much. The demographics of the church shifts. There's eventual resettlement in the British Mandate of Iraq. The British encourage resettlement of the refugees into the southern area that they have established this artificial line, as you can kind of see, that kind of cuts through the middle of mountains. Interestingly enough, we have a certain person that you and I both know that claims that this line is perfect.
It's totally not natural.
So and you can see that actually when the line is formed. It's formed. It's called the Brussels line.
Look at why is Zacho cut off from Cernak? Why is there an indentation on the other side? It's just,
especially because Zacho is in a flatter area compared to what's north of it. It's again, Budwad is cut in half here. Upper and lower Barwar are cut in half.
Yeah.
Very, very,
Barwar
very
on
weird.
the map? Where is it?
Barwar is the that purple,
Right,
that
okay.
like above purple. You can see it's below the line.
North Barwar is on that side of the line. South Barwar is on this side. Okay.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct. So yeah, sorry, wait. Let me move on. So the Church of the East, using rough population statistics here, there's roughly about 115K Church of the East adherents, Nestorians in this case. 85,000 of them are located in the empire, and 30,000 of them are located in Qajar, Iran, so in Urmi and Salamat. This is done using statistics from Cutts. He's a British figure in the 1870s, and then extrapolating those numbers based on reproduction for those villages. The Uniate Church conducts a survey in 1913 led by Father Joseph Tfinci. Tfinci is a priest in Mardin who is very interested in clearly mapping his church. He writes a whole book about mapping the church out, including its numerous dioceses and their apostolic succession.
Yeah.
He actually puts the number of the Chaldean church at 102,000. So you can see it's actually smaller than the Nestorian patriarchate, even after all of its efforts and support.
Yeah.
Now we'll say this: they are more urbanized.
This number is post Seifo?
Pre-Seifo.
Pre-Seifo, okay.
Both of these numbers are pre-Seifo.
Got it.
Joseph Tfinci, if you add his numbers together, there's about 82,000 located in the empire and 20,000 located in Qajar, Iran. So roughly a similar breakup between the two, split between Iran and Iraq. So it's very interesting to somehow indicate that one is more Iranian than the other. It's very, very, very silly, as you can see by the numbers, just purely by the numbers.
Yeah.
Tfinci has several people that conduct very accurate numbers, including Mar Adai Sher, Bishop of Sir. He is actually a scholar, well known in the Christian world at the time. Adai Sher, Tfinci actually points out how good Adai Sher's numbers are and how he pinpoints it. But in general, it's to be said that these numbers are quite accurate for showing the size of the Chaldean Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So how bad is this on both churches? It probably hits the Church of the East a little harder. The Church of the East loses 2 patriarchs during this time period. Mar Binyamin Shimon is killed by a Kurdish warlord in 1918. His brother is ordained, Mar Shimon Polis. Mar Shimon Polis dies of disease in sickness upon relocating to Baghdad, along with multiple other refugees of his flock. They lose several bishops, and the synod is reduced to Mar Timotheos, the metropolitan in India, Mar Yosip Khananishu, who is ordained. He is ordained while being a refugee. His uncle was the bishop before him. He dies during Seifo, during the march to escape from the Kurds. Maryuala Yalda, that 12-year-old that was made a bishop by Mar Shimon Binyamin, he survives, notably because he's in Barwar. Mar Zeya Sargis of Jilu, quite a young bishop at this time, survives as well. And Mar Elia Abuna of Alkosh, the Alkosh person I mentioned earlier, he also survives. He is actually one of the consecrators of Mar Shimon Polis, the brother of Mar Binyamin Shimon. 25%, so a quarter of the Chaldean Synod dies during the war. That 1/4 of their bishops, they have 12 bishops, 1/4 of them dies. Mar Toma Audu, Mar Adai Sher, and Mar Yako Oraham. Mar Yako Oraham is one of the senior bishops in the Synod. He's quite old. He's lived through plenty of the events of the church. He dies. Mar Toma Audu Bishop of Urmia, one of the most educated bishops and one of the first bishops to publish a full Syriac lexicon. He is killed. Mar Adaisher, as I've mentioned previously, quite a large scholar, Bishop of Sir, dies. Several of the other bishops are able to escape, which is interesting, but these three are killed. So this is a major loss to the Chaldean Catholic Church, along with the mysterious murder of Mar Ogun Mana. He is mysteriously killed in southern Iraq in the 1920s. These are, again, Mar Toma Ado, Mar Adaisher, and Mar Ogun Mana are some of the greatest Chaldean church scholars in their time, and are all killed.
Wow.
The Church of the East is forced to relocate to the British Mandate. A new patriarch is ordained in 1920 after the death of Mar Shimon Paulus. But as I write, not without controversy. It's quite controversial. Mar Shimon Ishai is the name of the patriarch. He is ordained at 12 years old. He was born in 1908. Mar Abimelech Timotheos is the Mar Abimelech Timotheos is the senior metropolitan bishop, and he is actually against the ordination. He writes from India that they should wait for him to arrive from India before selecting a new patriarch, as it would be irresponsible to ordain a 12-year-old. Mar Yosef Khananishu is successfully pressured. Some may say by Assyrian tribesmen, some may say by the British, some may say by members of the patriarchal family, to ordain Mar Shimon Ishai. It's quite controversial, as I mentioned. Different people will tell you different things. I am personally under the impression that all three of these factors played a part. When Mar Timotheos arrives in Iraq, he is not happy as the boy has been ordained patriarch.
Of course.
So he ends up coming to a agreement that he will act as the regent of the patriarch and the regent of the church until Mar Ishai Shimon is of age and of proper education. Mar Ishai Shimon is recognized as a very intelligent 12-year-old, even for his age. He understands that his duties are very important. But this is him on the left. So actually, Mar Abimelech Timotheos, as I mentioned in the second point, is made as the regent. Okay, Mar Abimelech Timotheos. I'm not even going to answer that. Don't even put it up, Shamas, right now. We'll answer it later. Mar Abimelech Timotheos is actually because he has good relations with the British, he is able to, from India, he's able to arrange for Mar Shimon Ishai to be educated at Cambridge University. He's able to arrange travel, and Mar Ishai Shimon goes to Cambridge for 4 years to study. His tutor in Cambridge University writes that Mar Ishai Shimon always, while enjoying camaraderie with his fellow students, always kept up the respect and the duty that a patriarch required. So even as a young boy, he's very, very, very respectful and knows what the duty that his church requires him and how his behavior is required to be. Interestingly enough, Mar Yosef, the sixth Emanuel Toma, the one who I mentioned earlier and I showed in the picture, Mar Yosef Emanuel, during 1919, during the King Crane Commission, I'm sure you've heard of the King Crane Commission, he actually goes on record and advocates for a Syro-Chaldean state to be made. Obviously, his suggestions are not taken, along with many other people's suggestions at this time when drawing the borders of the Middle East. But interestingly enough, he sort of recants this. He begins to work quite closely with the Iraqi government, as you can see in the top left, with
King
this
Faisal.
late King.
Yeah.
What?
King Faisal. Yeah.
That's King Faisal with Mar Yosef Emanuel.
And the
This is him
Chaldean
with.
Synod.
This is in Mosul. This is where all the this is not the Synod. These are priests.
Oh, priests. Okay.
So these are priests and or some are seminarians.
Got it.
So they're, as you can see, they're rocking a sort of new version of the traditional priestly dress.
Yeah.
Priests traditionally did not dress this way, but in the Nestorian branches of the Church of the East, but they have modernized. I still really like when the Chaldean Catholic priests wear this, though. They don't wear it as much these days.
The young ones are wearing it more often a little bit.
Especially when they see people like His Holiness Mar our Royal, they like to wear this to impress him, to say we still have our tradition.
Absolutely.
Which, again, I like it. So he studies for 4 years in Cambridge University, but he would have stayed longer, but it is believed that he believed his church needed him. So he actually goes back to Iraq, and he establishes a patriarchate in Bebede. It is one of the villages that never converted in the Ahmadiyya area, in the Ahmadiyya region, in the Sapna Valley. I'll mark it. I have it marked on the map that we'll see a little later. He builds a. Do you know where? Funny enough, what he picks as his patriarchate building. He picks the former school built by the Anglicans in that village. He makes that building his patriarchate. So it all comes back to that Archbishop of Canterbury's mission. In 1931, the tribesmen are split. The Assyrian tribesmen are split into pro-patriarchal and anti-patriarchal factions. The pro-patriarchal faction is a lot larger in terms of total number, but the anti-patriarchal faction, as I will mention, does have some support. In Iraq, I forgot to mention this on the slide, Mar Yosef Khananishu and Lady Surma Khanum and Dawid Debit Mar Shimun, so the father of the patriarch, the aunt of the patriarch, and the uncle of the patriarch, who is a bishop. These three are how do I say this? These three are basically forming a triumvirate to rule while the patriarch is gone and while he's in his young age, and they certainly dictate a lot of British policy towards Assyrians in Iraq. So as you can see, the patriarch is a young man in the top left. He is more fully grown. He's in his 20s at that point in the top left. The pro-patriarchal faction nominates Mar Ishai Shimun to conduct negotiation on their behalf with the Iraqi government. In 1931, the Assyrian levies, who are
Sorry, this might be the greatest comment in the history of the Lions. Then I had to post it.
It's good. It's really good. Mar Ishai Shimun is nominated to lead the pro-patriarchal faction. The patriarchal faction is very, very upset with the British. They felt that the British had promised them certain rights and autonomy within the new mandate of Iraq that were never fulfilled, and this leads to mass resignations from the Assyrian levies in 1931 and 32. My great-grandfather, Somo Saro, was part of this resignations, along with my great-grandfather's first cousin.
Wow.
Both of them refused to serve after this point. So the anti-patriarchal faction, by anti-patriarchal, they are sided with the Iraqi government. They have two notable figures in their midst. Malik Khoshaba of Lower Tiari, one of the tribal leaders, it is said that he was promised certain temporal rights as being recognized as the official representative of all Assyrians in Iraq. It was told that he was going to be promised this. Marzea Sargis of Jilu. So one of the people in Mar Ishai Shimun's synod is an anti-patriarchal faction politically. He was convinced with bribes and certain political posts appointed to his relatives. There are two objectives in the negotiations. One is to secure a place of settlement in the north, preferably in the Duhok area for all refugees. And secondly, to secure autonomy and rights for these people, for all Assyrians of Iraq, including of the Chaldean Catholics. The Iraqi government refused both and arrested the patriarch and detained him in the YMCA in Baghdad. During that time, the patriarch is unable to contact the tribal leaders in the north. The tribal leaders in the north, the two most prominent, Malik Loko Bedewi, whom my great-grandfather's first cousin served with, and my great-grandfather also fought with, and Malik Yaqo Ismail. They decide to take matters into their own hands and attempt to negotiate resettlement in French Syria. This does not go well. It leads to a conflict with the Iraqi state. The Iraqi state then, led by General Bakr Sidki in the north, massacre thousands of Assyrians over the course of a week or two. It's crazy. And many more Assyrians are displaced.
Anathema to that criminal, Bakr Sidki.
Anathema. I could go in more specific into the events of Samel, but I'm just focusing on ecclesiastical history here, so I will choose to skip over it, though I would personally love to discuss it more. I will, for the interest of keeping the subject. So the patriarch is detained until the large portions of these massacres have finished, and he has his Iraqi citizenship revoked along with those of his immediate family.
Wow.
They are exiled to Cyprus. They are flown by the Royal Air Force to Cyprus, where they set up a patriarchate in Nicosia. Nicosia being the largest city in Cyprus. They set up a patriarchate there for 7 years. During this time, Mar Ishai Shimon, being very, very convicted for the cause of his people, writes numerous letters to the League of Nations and appeals to many foreign leaders in an attempt to have this situation rectified. Unfortunately, he's unsuccessful.
So, why was Bakr Sidki and those who were involved in that, why were they so offended that there were negotiations with the French in a part of Syria for the Assyrians? What did Iraq care?
So what ended up happening was Malik Yaqo and Malik Loko Bedewi crossed over the river Khabur into Syria. They were armed, as most of their men were former soldiers who had, again, as I mentioned, resigned. They crossed the river. The French disarmed them, but the French were forbidden by a League of Nations decree, which decreed that the Assyrians had to be resettled in Iraq. It was a sort of Iraqi-British issue, and the French were forbidden from intervening. Upon them crossing back into the river, the Iraqi state attempted to disarm these people. For what purpose is unclear. As you know, many of these people were genocide survivors themselves, or the children of genocide survivors. So they knew disarmament would mean certain death. So they chose to not disarm. The small Assyrian force beat back a larger Iraqi force. This embarrassed Iraqi prestige and led to the mobilization of the army in the north by Bakr Sidki. Bakr Sidki viewed this as an attempt, as a way to boost his own prestige in the Iraqi state by putting down this Assyrian revolt, which there was no Assyrian revolt. The Chaldean Catholic Church in this time does not oppose these massacres, as they are in fear that this could turn into an anti-Christian pogrom in the whole country. In fact, Bakr Sidki's army was prepared to burn down Al-Qosh, and if Al-Qosh fell, it would be very likely that the other villages in the Nineveh Plains would be destroyed. Bakr Sidki is dissuaded from this after international outcry over the massacres. And the Chaldean Patriarchate remains intact. Interestingly enough, you can see in some of these photos here in the top right and the bottom left or bottom right corner, both of these are Isha Shimon during his time in Cyprus. And the left is shortly after he leaves Cyprus in the United States for the United States. So in 1940, Marisha Shimun makes the decision to leave Cyprus and to move to the United States, specifically Chicago and San Francisco. Just as a little bit of a note that happens later on, just so I don't have to mention it next episode, Mar Yosef Emanuel Thomas, the Chaldean patriarch, he reigns from, I believe, 1901 to 1947, long time. Upon his death, his successor moves the Chaldean patriarchate from Mosul to Baghdad.
Okay.
And this begins the Chaldean church's presence in Baghdad.
So essentially, the answer to the previous question in like a one sentence thing would be because they were armed, so they were trying to cause a revolution or something like that.
I don't think it was that. I think it was more like the Iraqi state felt that it could impose its will in negotiations if it disarmed these people. Obviously, they felt that if they could disarm these people, the patriarch would have no sort of leverage in negotiation, and the Assyrian people would be forced to follow.
Right. But I mean is that okay, that's one thing. It's another thing if these people are crossing into Syria. When they're crossing into Syria, they're not a threat to you in Iraq.
But they were coming back.
That's the thing. So that's my point. Is they're coming back armed, right?
They were already armed when they crossed.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so they were armed beforehand in Iraq.
Got it.
Here are some extra maps I decided to display just so we could look at a couple details. So on the left, you can see the Ahmadiyya, Accra, and Berwari regions.
Yes.
You can see your home village here, Aradin, right here.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, Bebadi, which is Bethbede, this is a Nestorian village. It's where the patriarchate ends up being established. It never converted. Look how close it is to other Catholic areas, okay? Including right here, Deiri is also another area that did not convert, along with Hamziya. Dehe village over here also never converted. It never became a uniate. Possibly also Blijan, I'm not 100% sure. Komane does not become Catholic until possibly as late as the 1860s or 70s. So this is very much an area of conflict. You can see Barwari, Lower Barwar is right here. This whole area is Lower Barwar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite interesting. This area also never converted and falls into what is Iraq. This area right here to the east of Nirwa and Rekan, traditionally governed by the bishops of this area, also never converted.
Is this map is the top border frame of the map, is that still Iraq?
No. This is ignoring the border.
Okay.
This is pretend there's no border.
Okay, show us with your mouse where the border would be?
Roughly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so wait, I need to find Ashita here. Ashita is I'm trying to find Ashita.
Take your time.
So actually my home village is right here.
Okay.
Mazara.
Okay.
I believe the border is like right here. I'm pretty sure it stretches over, or actually it's stretches over here, cuts off Marga, but Chalik is in it. Okay. Chalik is in Iraq, right there.
Yeah.
And it kind of just goes down like this and cuts through here.
Okay.
And cuts through here.
So you guys see, viewers, pay attention. All of these Matwatan right here, right? These are our villages, yeah? So he draws the border, cutting through them in half, and you're telling me that's natural? That's not natural.
It's actually quite ridiculous.
Yeah.
But as you like some of these villages, for example, like Marga, that's where Margaya come from. Margaya resettle over Iraq. Margaya resettle over in Iraq by the Chaldean Catholic Church. They're actually originally from Turkey. The Chaldean Catholic Church buys them land in the Zakho area to resettle them.
Got it.
So it's quite interesting. So it's very fascinating, really, when you look at it. How this is just torn apart complete areas. It makes no sense. Like our good friend Father Peter Petros, historically his village, which is, let's see if we can actually pull it up on this map. I don't know if they even have it. Esna, you see right here, Esna.
Yeah.
This is in Iraq, barely. Okay.
Yeah.
Traditionally, they would go to this area northwest of here, you can't see, and they would intermarry with another village.
Mhm.
Because of the border, they get separated.
Yeah. It's funny because how arbitrary these things are, yet people make them so definitive in their minds. It's insane.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
On the right, I have villages of the Mosul region.
Mhm.
Quite interesting to look at. You can see Tel Kepe, Batnaya, Tel Esqof, Al-Qosh, quite farther north of
Mhm.
those ones.
Mhm.
Sharafia, which becomes a resettlement village.
Yeah.
Rabban Hormuz Monastery. On the south, you can see this area. The south is mostly dominated typically by the Syriacs, except
Yeah.
for the exception of Karamnesh,
Yeah.
which was an important Church of the East stronghold in the 13th and 14th centuries.
Yeah. These were all at one point Church of the East towns that became Jacobite later.
And then I'm not sure,
Okay.
to be honest.
I know.
This might
According to the synods, as early as the first millennium, like the centuries within the first millennium, the later half of the first millennium, Marmette Monastery, which is there, is already in communion as a Jacobite monastery, and that's like a 3rd, 4th century monastery. So yeah, so I'm interested to know that one day we'll look into it, the history of the religion of these villages.
Interestingly enough, in terms of Karakosh right here, we know that they end up becoming Syriac Catholic due to the similar efforts of what happens to the Chaldean Catholics,
Right.
in terms of converting them.
Mhm.
So it becomes a sort of personal effort of them.
They're kind of an island. They're kind of an island there. I don't.
Yeah.
There's not like everything around them is Orthodox or Chaldean, and then you have to really get into maybe the closest Syriac Catholic bastion to them is probably Aleppo or something.
Correct.
Yeah.
It can be said that the Syriac Catholics were quite strong going into World War I, numbering likely over 100,000, but they actually are hit harder than the Jacobite Church by the genocide, almost completely destroying their presence in plenty of regions.
Okay.
Yeah. So that'll be a future episode.
I thought the Jacobites were hit the hardest.
It's probably the Syriac Catholics in terms of statistics.
Oh wow.
But yeah, this ends this. I have no more slides for this. But if you have any questions, Shamas, please feel free to ask.
I've been asking throughout, nothing in particular. So this is from the 18th century to World War I. Are we gonna do a modern times, like from the last 100 years?
Yeah. So the plan, I hope to do one from 1940 up until the modern day. That has a lot more speculation on some sort of subjects, and I think a little more juicy as well in terms of the drama and the figures. Though there is plenty of drama in this story as well.
Right. I can't wait for us with Dylan to do the patriarch ones. That's who's gonna.
Oh, yeah. Actually, Dylan and I had a major breakthrough in that one today.
Oh wow! Can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah, it actually has to do with the Aliyah Abuna guy that we talked about.
Yeah.
He is actually the result of that breakthrough. When I was looking into him just a little bit, just to prepare myself. But interestingly enough, I think the Church of the East, when you really understand its history, it becomes very clear that these are not two different people. These are just two different titles.
Got it.
And I think that's something that everyone should understand.
I think that's
Um,
obvious from history.
that isn't that obvious according to this, that this is just people swapping hands and
Yeah, just
and,
whichever bishops made certain decisions, and then we end up inheriting it this way. You know.
right. Yeah, so we'll make sure to cover that. This is an updated version of a obviously a stream we did in the past, as we mentioned. So I covered, I think, a lot more, and I hope you enjoyed, Shamas.
Yes, thank you so much, Pierre. Always, personally, my favorite episodes that we do on Lions Den are the ones you're in. I think I'm a history guy, and so are you. So it's really fun for me going back and forth.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it as well. I think that's why we get along so well. We're very interested in the nitty gritty of the facts and
Of course,
what we can really see,
yeah,
the details.
yeah.
Apostolic Clips has a question.
Go for it.
Is Pierre ACOE? Yes, I am ACOE. Baptized. David Gilgamesh says he is a Chaldean Pentecostal. No, I'm not Chaldean Pentecostal. Is this Dave? Is this the David I'm thinking about? I think it is.
I don't know who he is.
You know who I think it is? I think it's our good friend from California. Tammuz.
I
think it's Tammuz. I think it's Tammuz.
I think it's Tammuz too.
Just how he's talking, because you can see, like, when he said at the beginning, he goes, "Nothing beats fellow Assyrian schismatics coming together."
Yes.
He goes, "I was close." Yeah. I think it is him. We haven't talked to him in a while. I miss.
We should reconnect. Absolutely.
I'm Batman. He's Batman. He says, "Kakish, I am Matta. You know me."
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yes.
thank you so much for having me on the channel, Shamas. Part 2, inshallah, coming soon.
Coming soon, guys. Like, subscribe, share. Take care, everybody.
Take care.